Hi, I'm Dave from Guitar Zero to Hero, and today I'm excited to introduce you to 3 brand new amps and 3 brand new pedals that are available now in the Positive Grid Spark amp and app. The Spark Gear Drop is free for all Spark users, and I'll explain exactly how to get this update to start jamming with the new amps and effects later in this video. But before that, let's dive into this new gear. First, we'll take a look at the 3 new amps, the ODS 50, the Blues Boy, and the Insane 6508. Let's start with the ODS 50, which is inspired by the famous Dumble ODS 50 HRM, an extremely sought after boutique amplifier crafted by Alexander Howard Dumble. ODS amps are known for their amazing clarity of tone, from its responsive clean channel to its extremely rich overdrive. Built primarily for celebrities and pro studios, it's no wonder legends like Carlos Santana and Stevie Ray Vaughan covet these precious amps. Okay, now let's add some reverb and compression to this. Next up, let's check out the Blues Boy, inspired by the Blues Junior amplifier by Fender. This extremely popular tube combo amp released in the 90s is known for its full-bodied tone, providing that signature Fender-style clean sound. And now for all you metalheads out there, let's check out the Insane 6508, inspired by the Peavey 6505. This powerhouse of an amp delivers all the high gain tone you could ask for whilst keeping note definition and clarity. Pair this amp with an overdrive pedal to take the express route straight to Chug City. So now we'll take a look at the 3 new effects included in the Spark Gear Drop: the Klon Drive, the Guitar EQ, and the Bass EQ. First up is the Klon Drive, which is inspired by the Klon Centaur overdrive pedal. With only a handful of units built between 1994 and 2009, this extremely rare pedal is one of the most sought after overdrives in existence and can only be found on the used market, fetching thousands of dollars. This pedal is known for its extreme clarity when adding gain to your guitar's tone. Now let's take a look at the Guitar EQ pedal. If you're familiar with any EQ pedal, then this will operate just the same. This pedal will enable you to control the EQ of your guitar to a granular level as you dial in the signal to your personal taste. For example, if you prefer a sound with less low end or bass, you can simply set the EQ parameter to have less low frequencies in your signal. Alright, so this is the flat EQ. But let's say I want to take out some low end. Let's take out those low frequencies. The new update also includes a bass EQ pedal that works the same way as the guitar EQ does, only this one's optimized for bassists. And now let's take up some of the higher frequencies. So there you have it, 3 new amps and 3 new pedals available right now for the Spark Gear Drop. Next, I'll explain how to update your amp and app in order to start jamming with this new gear. This will require you to update both your amp firmware as well as the app itself. In this next section, I'll explain how to do just that. Occasionally, it's necessary to update the Spark's firmware and the accompanying Spark app on your smart device to improve performance and install new features. The firmware is the software that's installed directly onto the amp and is not to be confused with the Spark app that's found on your phone or tablet. Now, a quick note for Windows users, you'll need to first install the ASIO driver before updating the firmware on your amp. Please find a link to this in the description. Step number 1 is to turn on your Spark amp. And first, back up your custom presets to the Tone Cloud or to the Spark app. This is optional, but it's handy in case anything goes wrong and you lose your presets on your amp. At this point in the process, do not have your amp plugged into your PC or Mac just yet. Now, step number 2 is to download, unzip, and launch the firmware update tool. You can find direct links to both the Windows and Mac versions in the description below. Note that the updater software should be started before plugging the USB cable into the Spark amp. For Mac users who encounter a message that states "can't be opened because Apple cannot check it for malicious software," first dismiss it by clicking OK. Then try again by right-clicking on the installer and selecting Open. This may bring up the same dialog, but now with an option to open the file anyway. So click on that. There's links in the description that further explain this process. Now that the firmware install is launched, step number 3 is to connect your Spark amp to the computer using the bundled USB cable or any other USB cable that has a Type B connector. With the firmware updater launched and your USB cable connected, click on Connect Hardware. In many instances, when you plug in the USB cable, it'll automatically detect the hardware. If the firmware updater does not connect to the hardware, please try restarting your computer and your Spark amp and unplugging and replugging in the USB cable again. Once the hardware is detected, click Check to Update. The app will now start updating the firmware. And once the update is completed, the message "Your firmware is up to date" will appear. Be sure to check if the new firmware version meets the latest version as described on the download page. If attempts to update the firmware keep failing, then try to update the firmware with a different computer. Once again, the Spark firmware updater and ASIO driver links are available in the description below. Now let's talk about updating the Spark app on your smart device. The Spark app runs on iOS version 11.3 or later and Android OS version 8.1 or later. And from time to time, it's necessary to update the Spark app to install new features and upgrades. Here's how it's done. To update the Spark app on iPhone or iPad, on your iOS device, go to the Apple App Store, click on your profile. You'll see a list of apps that you've previously installed. Click on Update next to the Spark app. You'll also have the option of updating all apps. To turn automatic updates on or off in your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, go to Settings, tap App Store, and in there you can turn on or off automatic app updates. To update the Spark app on Android phone or tablets, simply open up the Google Play Store app. At the top right, tap on the profile icon. Tap Manage Apps and Device, and apps with an available update will be labeled Update Available. You can also search for a specific app. If there's an update available for the Spark, simply tap Update.